Every life carries a subtle imprint, a silent echo from experiences that did not begin at birth. In Buddhist wisdom, nothing appears without a cause, and nothing disappears without leaving a trace. The last digit of your birth year is not a random number. It is a symbolic doorway into the karmic momentum you carried from a previous existence. It reflects the unfinished lessons, cultivated strengths, and emotional patterns that followed your consciousness into this lifetime. When you understand this number, you begin to see why certain struggles repeat, why specific fears feel ancient, and why some talents seem to arise without effort. If your birth year ends in 0 or 1, your past life was deeply connected to leadership and responsibility. You were likely someone who held authority, whether in a family, community, or spiritual setting. However, leadership always carries karmic weight. If power was used wisely, you return in this life with natural confidence and a strong sense of direction. If power was misused, you may now face situations where control slips from your hands. This is not punishment. It is balance. The lesson for you is humility. True authority in this life will not come from dominance but from service. When you lead with compassion rather than ego, old karmic knots begin to dissolve. If your birth year ends in 2 or 3, your previous life revolved around relationships and communication. You may have been a mediator, artist, teacher, or someone whose words influenced many. Yet words create karma quickly. Promises made, truths hidden, emotions manipulated, all leave energetic imprints. In this lifetime, you might experience intense relational lessons. Friendships may test you, partnerships may mirror your inner wounds, and misunderstandings may appear repeatedly. This pattern exists so you can refine your speech and purify intention. When you speak with awareness, avoiding gossip and unnecessary harm, you break cycles that may have followed you for centuries. If your birth year ends in 4 or 5, your past life was marked by movement and instability. You may have traveled often, changed roles frequently, or lived through sudden upheavals. Freedom was important to you, perhaps more important than commitment. Because of this, your current life may feel divided between craving independence and desiring stability. This internal tension is karmic memory. The soul remembers unfinished duties. In this lifetime, discipline becomes your path to liberation. By committing to long-term goals and staying present during discomfort, you transform restless karma into steady wisdom. Stability is not a prison. It is the foundation for deeper growth. If your birth year ends in 6 or 7, your previous incarnation was strongly spiritual or service-oriented. You may have lived close to monastic life, healing practices, or deep contemplation. However, spiritual pride can arise subtly. If compassion was genuine, you now return with intuitive insight and natural empathy. If attachment to spiritual identity developed, you may feel isolated or misunderstood in this life. The lesson here is integration. Spirituality must not separate you from the world, but reconnect you to it. Enlightenment is not escape, it is awakened participation. When you balance inner wisdom with outer responsibility, karmic residues soften. If your birth year ends in 8 or 9, your past life carried themes of material power and completion. You may have accumulated wealth, influence, or significant achievements. Yet attachment to success binds the soul tightly. In this life, you may experience dramatic rises and falls, teaching you that security built only on external gain is fragile. Loss becomes a teacher, not an enemy. Generosity is your karmic medicine. When you give freely, time, resources, forgiveness, you loosen the chains of old attachments. Completion energy means this life holds potential for major karmic closure, but only if you release rather than cling. Understanding your last birth year digit does not mean your destiny is fixed. Buddhism teaches that karma is dynamic. It is shaped every moment through intention, speech, and action. The number simply reveals the starting point of your current journey. Think of it as inherited momentum. You did not begin at 0, you began mid-story. Awareness allows you to change the direction of that story consciously. Notice repeating emotional themes in your life. Do you often struggle with authority? That may reflect unfinished leadership karma. Do relationships feel like continuous lessons? Communication karma is asking for refinement. Do you fear commitment or crave constant change? Restless past life patterns may be surfacing. Self-observation is the first step toward freedom. Meditation becomes powerful here. When you sit quietly and observe your thoughts without judgment, you interrupt automatic karmic reactions. Instead of repeating the past unconsciously, you respond with clarity. Another important teaching is that karma operates collectively as well as individually. The year you were born also places you within a generation carrying shared lessons. However, your last digit personalizes that broader theme. It fine-tunes the spiritual curriculum designed for your awakening. Nothing about it is accidental. Even the family you entered aligns with karmic resonance. Challenges within family systems often mirror unresolved bonds from prior lives. When forgiveness replaces resentment, ancient contracts quietly dissolve. Breaking karmic cycles requires 3 conscious practices: awareness, ethical alignment, and compassionate action. Awareness means recognizing patterns without denial. Ethical alignment means choosing actions that reduce harm, even when ego resists. Compassionate action transforms heavy karma into light. Every time you choose patience instead of anger, generosity instead of greed, truth instead of deception, you rewrite energetic history. Many people search outside for mystical signs of past lives, yet the clearest evidence is your present tendencies. What triggers you most strongly often points toward old attachments. What inspires you deeply often reflects cultivated virtues from before. If you feel drawn to spiritual growth, that itself is karmic continuity. Seeds planted previously are now sprouting. The last digit of your birth year is not about superstition. It is a contemplative tool. It invites reflection. When used wisely, it encourages responsibility rather than fatalism. You are not trapped by your past. You are informed by it. Each conscious decision shifts the trajectory forward. Even heavy karma can be transformed through consistent mindful living. As you reflect on your number, avoid comparison. Every soul carries a unique combination of lessons. No digit is superior. Some indicate power lessons, others emotional refinement, others stability or release. What matters is how you respond now. The Buddha emphasized right intention above all. Intention purifies action. Pure action reshapes karma. Your birth year's final digit whispers a story, but you hold the pen today. The past explains your starting point. It does not dictate your ending. When you align daily choices with wisdom, compassion, and mindful awareness, karmic cycles begin to unwind naturally. What once felt like fate reveals itself as opportunity. And in that realization, the journey toward inner freedom truly begins. Yet freedom in Buddhist understanding is not a sudden escape from difficulty. It is the gradual purification of perception. Once you recognize that your birth year's final digit reflects karmic momentum, the next step is deeper inquiry. How does this karmic imprint shape your daily reactions? Where does it influence your fears, ambitions, and attachments? Awareness alone opens the gate, but disciplined reflection allows you to walk through it. Consider how karma operates through habitual response. If you carried leadership karma, for example, notice how quickly you step into control during conflict. Do you listen fully, or do you assume responsibility before others speak? The unconscious habit to dominate or rescue may stem from earlier lifetimes, where authority defined your identity. In this life, growth comes not by suppressing leadership, but by refining it. Pause before acting. Ask whether guidance is truly needed, or whether silence would empower others more. In that pause, old patterns weaken. For those with relational karma, emotional sensitivity becomes both strength and challenge. You may sense shifts in tone, subtle expressions, and unspoken tensions instantly. This intuitive awareness is not accidental. It was cultivated before. However, attachment to harmony can create fear of confrontation. You might avoid necessary truth to preserve peace, repeating cycles of misunderstanding. The transformation begins when honesty is delivered with compassion. Clear speech does not destroy connection, it purifies it. Each time you speak with mindful clarity, you untangle threads woven long ago. Restless karmic patterns often reveal themselves through impatience. If your soul remembers instability, you may feel uneasy when life becomes predictable. Stillness can seem uncomfortable, even threatening. This reaction is not weakness, it is stored memory. The remedy is intentional grounding. Create daily rituals, morning reflection, mindful breathing, structured goals. Stability practiced consciously retrains the nervous system and softens ancient impulses. Over time, what once felt restrictive becomes reassuring. You discover that true freedom is not endless motion, but inner steadiness. Spiritually oriented karma presents subtler challenges. A natural pull toward meditation, healing, or philosophical inquiry may feel effortless. Yet subtle ego can hide within spiritual identity. You might unconsciously compare your awareness to others or withdraw when misunderstood. The lesson here is humility and wisdom. Serve quietly. Let actions demonstrate insight rather than words. When spirituality becomes embodied kindness instead of intellectual superiority, karmic residue dissolves gently. Material and power-related karma often manifests through ambition. You may set high standards, pursue success intensely, or measure worth through achievement. There is nothing inherently negative about accomplishment. The imbalance arises when identity fuses with outcome. Observe your reaction to failure. Does it threaten your sense of self? If so, attachment is speaking. Practice generosity deliberately. Share credit. Support others without expecting recognition. By loosening the grip on personal gain, you transform heavy karmic cycles into expansive growth. Beyond individual tendencies, karma also interacts with environment. Notice repeating life themes. Do similar challenges appear in different forms? Perhaps authority conflicts emerge at work, then within family, then among friends. These repetitions are not coincidence. They are invitations. Each recurrence offers a new opportunity to respond differently. When the response changes, the cycle shifts. This is how karmic chains break, not through avoidance, but through conscious re-engagement with wiser intention. Meditation remains central in this process. Sit quietly and observe the flow of thought without interference. At first, patterns will appear chaotic. Gradually, you begin to notice repetition, certain worries, judgments, desires surfacing again and again. Instead of identifying with them, witness them. This witnessing creates space between stimulus and reaction. In that space, freedom grows. You realize that karma influences tendencies, but it does not imprison awareness. Compassion accelerates transformation. When you understand that others are also acting from their karmic conditioning, resentment softens. The person who challenges you may be replaying their own unresolved patterns. This insight does not excuse harmful behavior, but it prevents hatred from taking root. Respond firmly when necessary, yet without malice. Compassion protects your own karmic field from further entanglement. Gratitude is another powerful purifier. Reflect on strengths that seem innate: talents, resilience, intuition. These are fruits of positive actions from prior existence. Appreciating them reinforces constructive karma. Instead of taking abilities for granted, use them consciously for benefit. Generosity multiplies what is already present. The energy you offer returns transformed. It is also important to understand that karmic transformation requires patience. Some patterns dissolve quickly once recognized. Others feel deeply embedded, resurfacing despite sincere effort. Do not interpret recurrence as failure. Karma unfolds in layers. Each mindful response weakens its intensity, even if complete release takes time. Progress in spiritual growth is rarely linear. Trust gradual change. Your birth year digit may also influence the type of relationships you attract. Leadership karma might draw dependent personalities seeking guidance. Relational karma may attract complex emotional bonds. Restless karma may connect you with adventurous partners. Spiritual karma may align you with seekers. Material karma may bring ambitious allies or competitors. Instead of asking why certain people enter your life, ask what lesson the interaction reveals. Relationship becomes mirror, not accident. Forgiveness plays a decisive role in karmic closure. Holding resentment binds you energetically to the past. Forgiveness does not mean denying pain. It means releasing identification with it. When you forgive, you choose not to carry forward what no longer serves growth. This conscious release lightens karmic burden dramatically. Often, the heaviest chains dissolve through quiet internal decision rather than dramatic external change. Ethical living strengthens every effort. The principles of right speech, right action, and right livelihood are not rigid commandments but practical safeguards. They prevent new negative karma from forming while old patterns unwind. Each ethical choice stabilizes consciousness. Over time, clarity replaces confusion. You begin to sense alignment between thought, word, and deed. This harmony reflects karmic purification in motion. As awareness deepens, fear of fate diminishes. The idea that a number determines destiny transforms into understanding that it indicates a lesson plan. You are both student and teacher in this lifetime. Circumstances provide curriculum. Your response determines outcome. Even difficult experiences become meaningful when viewed through this lens. Suffering shifts from punishment to instruction. Moments of insight may arise unexpectedly. A realization during silence, a sudden understanding during conflict, a calm response where anger once dominated. These small breakthroughs signify karmic turning points. Celebrate them quietly. They are evidence that consciousness is evolving beyond inherited momentum. Ultimately, the purpose of exploring your birth year's final digit is not prediction, but awakening. It encourages responsibility for inner development. You begin to see that transformation is possible regardless of past complexity. Each breath offers renewal. Each intention plants a seed. When mindful awareness guides action consistently, karmic patterns gradually reorganize. Life may still present challenges, but your relationship to them changes. Reactivity softens into reflection. Attachment loosens into appreciation. Fear transforms into curiosity. The same external events no longer produce the same internal turbulence. Through this process, enlightenment ceases to be distant ideal and becomes lived experience. Not dramatic, not mystical, but steady clarity. You understand your tendencies without being controlled by them. You engage fully with life while remaining inwardly balanced. And as wisdom stabilizes, the echoes of previous lifetimes fade into quiet background lessons. No longer chains, but stepping stones guiding you toward lasting. And as the wheel of karma slows and softens, the path ahead becomes less about repetition and more about deliberate creation. In Buddhist understanding, life is a continuum of cause and effect, and your awareness of karmic patterns allows you to act with intentionality rather than compulsion. Each moment is a brushstroke on the canvas of existence, guided by consciousness. The last digit of your birth year is a symbolic signpost, revealing inherited tendencies, but it does not dictate how the painting will unfold. The artist remains you, fully empowered to choose color, form, and movement. Begin by observing recurring patterns with precision. Notice emotional triggers, habitual responses, and relational dynamics. If leadership karma influences you, reflect on how authority surfaces in subtle ways, in tone, decision-making, or influence. Adjust consciously. If relational karma shapes your life, observe where attachment, avoidance, or miscommunication emerges. Each awareness creates opportunity to intervene consciously. Patterns once invisible now become transparent. Awareness itself begins to disarm old momentum. Equally, cultivate ethical vigilance. Karma unfolds not only through grand actions, but through countless micro-moments. Honesty, patience, generosity, and restraint in small acts ripple outward, gradually reshaping energetic inheritance. Observe your speech. Are your words constructive or reactive? Are your intentions aligned with compassion rather than ego? Small shifts compound over time, dissolving layers of past conditioning and strengthening conscious choice. Grounding remains essential for restless karmic tendencies. If instability or impulsivity marked previous lives, create structured rituals, daily reflection, mindful movement, consistent routines. Physical and mental discipline reinforce each other. The mind mirrors the body. Stability in one nurtures steadiness in the other. Over time, energy that once scattered into distraction transforms into focused adaptability. Restlessness becomes a dynamic tool rather than a disruptive force. For spiritually inclined karma, integration is key. Meditation, contemplation, and ethical reflection are powerful, but insight must extend into action. True awakening manifests when mindful awareness persists during challenge, when patience governs response, and when humility tempers knowledge. Spiritual practice is not escapism. It is practical cultivation of wisdom. When insight harmonizes with behavior, karmic remnants dissolve efficiently. Material or power-oriented karma requires reevaluation of attachment. Consider the nature of ambition and desire. External success may arise easily, but identifying self-worth with achievement perpetuates cycles. Shift focus from acquisition to contribution, from control to service. Balance ambition with generosity. Observe reactions to loss or setback. These are key indicators of residual attachment. Transforming perspective turns challenges into vehicles of growth rather than reinforcement of old patterns. Relationship dynamics offer continuous feedback. Those you encounter reflect your unresolved tendencies. Recognize that difficult connections are mirrors, not adversaries. Address triggers consciously: communication, patience, forgiveness, boundary setting. When old reactive patterns are replaced with deliberate response, karmic repetition loses grip. Awareness combined with action rewrites relational energy at foundational level. Silence and reflection amplify understanding. Regular periods of withdrawal allow subtle currents of thought and emotion to surface. Observe repetitive anxieties, fantasies, or impulsive desires without judgment. Witnessing alone begins to weaken habitual reactivity. Patterns become transparent. Compulsive responses lose energy. This introspective clarity supports ethical and conscious living. Compassion extends beyond self. Recognize that others operate from their karmic residues. Approach interactions with empathy, balancing firmness with understanding. Anger, resentment, or judgment strengthens past life entanglement. Compassion, patience, and clarity weaken it. Through conscious relational conduct, karmic energy is purified gradually. Each mindful exchange dissolves invisible threads linking past experiences to present reaction. Gratitude is transformative. Recognize lessons embedded in all circumstances, pleasant or difficult. Challenges aligned with inherited tendencies offer opportunities to refine responses. Appreciating adversity prevents resistance and accelerates growth. Gratitude nurtures positive karmic accumulation, reinforcing mindful patterns and increasing receptivity to insight. Ethical refinement in micro moments is powerful. The tone of speech, intention behind service, silent judgments, and small decisions compound karmically. Observing and adjusting these subtle behaviors shifts energy fundamentally. Over months and years, small, consistent choices reshape character and consciousness. Karma responds most effectively to diligent, nuanced cultivation rather than dramatic effort alone. Patience is essential. Old patterns may resurface repeatedly despite sincere effort. Recurrence is not failure, but deeper exposure of unresolved layers. Each conscious handling of recurring tendencies weakens them further. Spiritual evolution is iterative. Persistence in awareness, action, and ethical conduct gradually dismantles entrenched karmic structures. This process transforms reactive impulses into conscious response. Integration across domains of life solidifies insight. Leadership, relationships, restlessness, spirituality, and material engagement must harmonize. Misalignment triggers friction, prolonging karmic cycles. Observe each sphere of activity for consistency. Adjust behavior to maintain alignment with intention, ethical standards, and compassion. Cohesive action accelerates karmic resolution, producing stability and clarity. Through this sustained effort, karmic reactivity diminishes. Emotional turbulence softens. External events no longer dictate inner state. Authority, relationships, change, or loss evoke reflection instead of automatic reaction. Recognition of inherited patterns becomes practical, allowing choice in every moment. Conscious attention becomes habitual, reinforcing liberation from old momentum. Reflection and observation now extend to unconscious assumptions, biases, and habitual judgments. Identify subtle attachments to identity, success, recognition, or approval. Each insight enables conscious correction. Old fears and compulsions lose influence as awareness grows. Mindful presence overrides automatic reactivity, creating an expanded field of choice. This practice strengthens clarity and stabilizes consciousness. Spiritual maturity emerges as seamless integration of insight, ethical action, and relational skill. Knowledge of past life tendencies is applied intelligently rather than idolized. Patterns once viewed as fate are now seen as curriculum. Conscious engagement transforms inherited tendencies into deliberate development, fostering autonomy over reaction, freedom from compulsion, and expanded wisdom in daily life. Community support amplifies transformation. Interaction with individuals committed to mindfulness, ethical living, and compassion reinforces personal effort. Collective awareness and ethical engagement create a stabilizing influence, strengthening individual capacity to apply insight. Shared practice reduces likelihood of regression into unconscious patterns, enhancing karmic resolution. Mindful engagement with challenges produces accelerated growth. Difficult circumstances, rather than provoking resistance, become opportunities to exercise patience, compassion, and ethical integrity. Awareness enables deliberate response, transforming habitual reaction into conscious action. Each encounter becomes a learning opportunity, dissolving residual karmic influence. Ultimately, karmic liberation manifests as clarity, equanimity, and compassion. Past life tendencies no longer dictate behavior. They inform conscious development. Every action, thought, and intention shapes ongoing trajectory. By integrating insight, ethical refinement, and deliberate engagement with life, karmic cycles unwind naturally. Awareness, patience, and compassion collectively stabilize consciousness, guiding the individual towards sustained peace, clarity, and enlightened living. And as karmic cycles unwind through conscious action, the final stage of this journey emerges: full integration. The patterns traced by your birth year's final digit no longer dominate perception or behavior. They serve only as guides, illuminating areas for refinement and conscious development. At this point, awareness is steady, ethical alignment is habitual, and compassion flows naturally. The lessons of past lifetimes are neither burdens nor mysteries. They are fully embodied wisdom, shaping deliberate, balanced engagement with life. Each breath, thought, and action contributes to ongoing karmic transformation, consolidating insight into practical mastery. Begin by observing the continuity between intention and action. Notice how your choices align with awareness rather than automatic impulse. Patterns that once caused frustration or confusion now arise as signals for measured response. Emotional triggers, relational dynamics, ambition, and restlessness are no longer chains but indicators guiding conscious engagement. By responding with mindfulness, you convert inherited tendencies into refined behaviors, allowing the present to reshape the future consciously. In leadership karma, true authority manifests as guidance tempered by humility. You naturally discern when to act, when to step back, and how to empower others. Decisions are made from clarity rather than ego-driven habit. Those influenced by relational karma now navigate connections with honesty and empathy. Communication is clear, intentions are transparent, and attachments are balanced. Conflict becomes a tool for growth rather than repetition of old wounds. Restless karmic energy transforms into adaptable flexibility. Past impulsivity is replaced by measured spontaneity. Freedom is exercised responsibly. Physical, mental, and emotional stability reinforce one another, creating a resilient foundation for all endeavors. Spiritually inclined individuals integrate insight seamlessly into daily life. Meditation, contemplation, and ethical conduct are no longer isolated practices, but continuously inform actions, decisions, and interactions. Wisdom becomes embodied, evident in every choice. Material or achievement-related tendencies are harmonized. Ambition is pursued with clarity and generosity. External success complements internal growth rather than defining it. Attachment to outcomes dissolves gradually, replaced by purposeful engagement and contribution. Challenges, setbacks, and losses are received with equanimity, each becoming opportunity for refinement. Through consistent attention and ethical engagement, karmic residue dissolves quietly, naturally aligning momentum toward balance. Forgiveness becomes effortless and spontaneous. Past resentments, relational entanglements, and unresolved karmic threads dissolve as insight and compassion deepen. Understanding that others act from inherited tendencies fosters empathy without complacency. Boundaries, clarity, and ethical action maintain alignment while dissolving attachment to old patterns. This conscious relational practice completes cycles that might have persisted unconsciously for lifetimes. Silence, reflection, and meditation now deepen awareness and reinforce integration. Recurrent thoughts, emotional patterns, and habitual reactions are observed without attachment. Awareness alone, maintained steadily, interrupts unconscious repetition. Over time, the mind becomes transparent, energetic patterns clear, and reactivity minimal. Karmic momentum loses grip as conscious choice predominates. Gratitude remains foundational. Appreciation for circumstances, lessons, and innate abilities strengthens positive karmic accumulation. Even adversity is reframed as necessary catalyst for growth. Recognizing value in all experiences, pleasant or challenging, stabilizes consciousness and enhances clarity. Ethical refinement at micro levels, speech, intention, action, remains consistent, reinforcing sustainable transformation. Community engagement amplifies growth. Associating with mindful, ethical, and compassionate individuals provides support, perspective, and reinforcement of positive habits. Shared practice reduces vulnerability to regression and fosters collective karmic elevation. Insight becomes not only individual achievement, but contribution to a larger energetic field, reflecting interconnectedness emphasized in Buddhist wisdom. As these principles solidify, fear, attachment, and compulsive reaction fade. Past life tendencies now function as subtle guides rather than determinants. Authority, relationships, restlessness, material pursuits, and spiritual inclinations are harmonized within conscious awareness. Each moment becomes opportunity to act from clarity, intention, and compassion, producing cumulative transformation. Conscious choice replaces automatic response. Insight replaces confusion. Finally, life is experienced with equanimity, presence, and wisdom. Past karmic residues are dissolved, awareness is stable, and action is aligned with ethical, compassionate, and mindful principles. The final digit of your birth year, once a symbol of inherited tendencies, now serves as a contemplative reminder of the journey traversed and the conscious mastery achieved. You stand fully empowered, unburdened by past cycles, free to engage each moment deliberately, cultivating peace, clarity, and enduring spiritual fulfillment. The echoes of former lives now function as teachers, not masters, guiding ongoing growth without constraint, allowing the awakened self to navigate life with clarity, balance, and unshakable equanimity.